The following is a broadcast presentation of Central Ohio Sports Network. Welcome to the Josh Franke Coaches Show. Live from Time and Change in Westerville. Here's your host, Brent Ford.
Welcome inside the Josh Franke Coaches Show from Time and Change here in Westerville. The Warhawks are 2-2 on the season as they're coming off a win against Dublin-Jerome 24-16. I don't think anyone that I talked to imagined that being the case going into last Friday night when Westerville Central would be a winner coming out of that game Friday night. That's just one of those topics that was low on the radar. It was outside the scope, and you weren't quite sure how that was going to go. But, hey, it happened. Westerville Central took command early on. We'll run through this game here in just a minute, but Westerville Central was able to get that win, 24-16. Glad you could be with us from Time and Change. For those listening on our audio stream, also on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, glad you could be watching and listening from there on our social medias. If you haven't had the chance to come to Time and Change, please do. They're a great host. I've tried something different on the menu every time I've been here now, and every time the food is just very, very good. It's out of this world. The pizza, by far, is probably my favorite. I had the buffalo chicken mac and cheese last week, had the fish and chips this week. I highly recommend all those options. Great, great options. Coming up inside the show, we got a packed show for you this evening. We're going to have one of the coaches from Westerville Central, Jacob Wallace, will join us in our first segment. Then we'll be followed up by wide receiver Cam Hebner, who had a great game last Friday night. We'll talk with Cam. We'll talk with Coach Wallace. That's all coming up inside the show. Later on, we'll have Coach Franke join us as well. He's coming from conferences, so he might be a little late getting here, but we'll fill the best we can as he makes his way back to Time and Change for what's going to be a jam-packed, lots to talk about, really, really great Friday night last week, and now Westerville Central has to go on the road. It's week 5, their second road game of the year. They have to take on the Braves of Olentangy, who are 3-1. They have some big wins. They have a pretty big loss against Olentangy Orange, but Orange is probably one of those teams that's, well, they're one of the top teams in Central Ohio for a reason, and they've shown it several times. And we'll talk with Coach Franke about the matchup between last week's Dublin-Jerome and now this week's Olentangy and the Braves. After that, though, Westerville Central is going to shift gears, and we're going to look at the OCC divisional play as they'll be back on the road the following Friday against Pickerington North. So, again, lots to talk about, things to really digest here over the next hour and a half from Time and Change. So let's get into what last Friday night looked like. It opened up with Westerville Central on a big drive. They went 15 plays, 65 yards, 8 minutes and 8 seconds off the clock. They topped it off with Nate Miller completing a pass 10 yards for a touchdown to Cohen Buss, and that's how it started for Westerville Central. 3rd down and 8, Westerville Central at the Jerome 10-yard line. 4 minutes to play, opening quarter. Kevin King-Foku to the left hip of Miller out of the gun. High snap. Miller rolling out and under pressure. Caught. And it's into the end zone. Cohen Buss for the touchdown. Westerville Central. The Warhawks from there would lead 7-0. They would convert that extra point. Dublin-Jerome, they went on a 6-play drive on their first possession. They had to punt the ball away. Westerville Central would also punt on their second possession. Dublin-Jerome goes 3 and out on their second possession. And then from there, Westerville Central puts together another drive in the second quarter. And they started this drive at the 8:16 mark. In that second quarter, they went 13 plays, 6 minutes and 12 seconds off the clock. And they topped it off with a Rylan Moran touchdown. Diving toward the end zone, touchdown, Rylan Moran gets into the end zone for Westerville Central. The Warhawks on that next possession for Dublin-Jerome, it was a 1-play possession. Why? An interception. Peoples takes the snap, throws over the middle, and it's intercepted at the 40-yard line by Omar Bangora. We won't talk about my mix-up of words and letters in that call, though, if anyone noticed that. I did. The second I heard it back, I was like, what is going on with me? Oh, my goodness. I had a rough night. We'll just leave it at that. Westerville Central gets the football back at that point, 1:58 second quarter to play, and they have it with 8-play drive, and it ends with a field goal. Cohen Buss puts it through the uprights. 5 seconds to play, 14-0 Westerville Central. And Cohen Buss is going to go for a field goal here. That's going to be from the 14-yard line. So a 24-yard field goal is good. Right there made it 17-0. Westerville Central led Dublin Jerome at the break. They went a scoreless first half on that defensive side. And if you're Westerville Central, you know that one of the topics going into week 3, week 4 was the defense really didn't have any key moments that turned the game around. No turnovers, not any big stops. But, again, we've seen progress over the last couple of weeks from week 1 to week 4 and how this team on both sides of the football has progressed in a positive way. You get that interception with Omar Bangura. You end it with a field goal. You're up by 3 scores at that point. Westerville Central does not start with the football in the second half. They won the coin toss and received, so Dublin Jerome starts it out. They go 5 plays. They have to punt the ball away. Westerville Central gets the ball back. They have to punt away. And then Dublin Jerome, for the first time in the night, they're able to stick the football into the end zone. Lombardi out of the gun. Play clock at 17. Takes the snap, keeps it himself, works near side 15, 10. Cuts the edge, 5, into the end zone. Touchdown for Dublin Jerome. 17-7 at that mark, 75 yards, 2 minutes, 56 seconds on that drive for Dublin Jerome. It took 8 plays for the Celtics. Westerville Central gets the ball back. 5:46 in that third quarter. A 4-play drive turns into, a punt that doesn't go the right direction. The snap goes over the head of Cohen Buss and into the back of the end zone, and that'll be a safety and add 2 points to Dublin Jerome. 17-9 at that point. Westerville Central still with the lead, but Jerome is gaining some momentum. We'll make a note that from the first half to the second half, they made a quarterback change, Peoples to Lombardi, trying to get a spark. Lombardi, you could tell, can move the football a little bit quicker for that Dublin Jerome offense, but from there, you could see that they had a little bit of momentum. But the defense, once again, the progress of the Westerville Central defense shows on a 2-play possession for Dublin Jerome on the next drive. Second down and 10 for Dublin Jerome at their own 35-yard line. Well, if the defense needed a wake-up call, Wes, they need one here now as it's 2nd and 10, and Lombardi takes the snap low, steps up into the pocket, loose football! It's at the 30-yard line, picked up by Westerville Central. All the way to the 10, 5, down inside the 2-yard line. What a pickup by Moise Crozier!
Greg Woods off the edge again.
Greg Woods, Moise Crozier, coming up big for Westerville Central. The defense needed a spark, and they got it because that Dublin Jerome offense was driving. They had 2 scores to start the third quarter, and Westerville Central did not have anything offensively at that point in the third. But from there, because of that strip sack, fumble, recovery by Westerville Central's defense, the Warhawks are inside the 2-yard line, and they're able to punch an in on 3 plays. 3rd and goal at the 4. Snap to Miller, hands it off, Bangura, cuts up into the middle, into the end zone! Touchdown, Omar Bangura and the Westerville Central Warhawks! 24-9 at that point. Westerville Central still with the lead. A turnover on downs in the next possession for Dublin Jerome, a drive that started in the third quarter, ended in the fourth. Bangura with the fumble, and Dublin Jerome recovered on the next Westerville Central possession, but it was after that where Dublin Jerome had one last chance. This was the last scoring play of the game, and it's happened at the 9:31 mark in the fourth quarter. Dublin Jerome from 32 yards out. Lombardi out of the gun. They hand it off. Slates gets the first down to the Westerville Central 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, Dublin Jerome. A 32-yard scamper for Slates. It was all defense at that point for Westerville Central. They made sure that Dublin Jerome had no other opportunities moving through the rest of the fourth quarter. And it was Greg Woods, that defensive line, Moise Crozier, who kept the pressure on Lombardi, and where they were able to get one more big-time strip sack. Lombardi out of the gun. Pressure! Down he goes! Penalty marker comes in. No, the football might have been lost. It was a fumble on the play. Greg Woods coming from behind on Lombardi. There's a fumble on the play, and Westerville Central's going to come away with it.
2 strip sacks for Greg Woods.
The Warhawks at that point were in control. They had to punt the ball away on the next possession on 4 plays. And after that, the defense said once again, Dublin Jerome, you're not going to go very far. Lombardi in the shotgun, throws over the middle, and it's going to be intercepted by Westerville Central! Picked up to the 20 and down to the 16-yard line, into the hands of Julian Bradley. One play on that one, and Julian Bradley was able to corral that interception in, and Westerville Central got the football back. Their last offensive possession, they went 3 plays. They tried for a 44-yard field goal. No good on that one. And then the game ended on the last play with just a few seconds to go, and the Warhawks are able to come out of this one victorious. One play for the Celtics. 3rd and 10. At the 29 of Westerville Central, Lombardi the snap, looking to his left. Firing to the deep part of the end zone, and it's going to be knocked down. That's it. It's over. The Warhawks get the win over Dublin Jerome, 24-16. That was your final score in that one last Friday night, as Westerville Central now moves to 2-2 on the season. They have to take on Olentangy tomorrow evening. 3-1 on the year. Dublin Jerome, with their only loss coming to Westerville Central, now at 3-1. And it's a big win. It's one of the, again, going into the game, talking with some people around the area in the media and some other friends that I have that watch high school football closely. They said, we don't see a Westerville Central coming out of that game with a win. We don't see Westerville Central coming away with any win for quite a while. Then the scoring happened, the control of the football game, offensively and defensively for Westerville Central, and Dublin Jerome falls in that one 24-16. Texted some of those people, and I said, hey, what was that you said about Westerville Central not getting another win for a while? They pull the upset 24-16, and the Warhawks now are 2-2 on the year. The last time that Westerville Central went 2 wins in a row was back in 2023, I believe it was. Now, the other fact that I'm going to look it up real quick because I had it memorized earlier in the week. Right now, I do not. But it was 2022, I believe. Yeah, 2022, the last time they had 2 wins in a row. The last time they had 3 wins in a row was 2022 as well for Westerville Central. The last time that they were able to string together multiple wins in a row, you have to go all the way back to the COVID year of 2020, where they were, in that year, they went 7-2. That was one of those shorter years. They made the region deep in the regional playoffs. They lost to Pickerington Central that year, 38-7, but Pickerington Central ultimately went on to be 11-0 that year. But ultimately, Westerville Central, the last time they had 2 wins in a row, it's a few years ago. The last time they had 3 wins in a row was 2022. Can they do that again, and can they pull an upset as they move on into the season? And that it's going to be maybe what we saw on last Friday night. How will that go when the Warhawks are in a position on the road, their second road game, just their second test of the year, and we'll see how it goes. When we come back, we're going to have our guests start joining us here inside the Josh Franke Coaches Show. Coach Wallace is going to join us. Later on, Cam Hebner will join us as well, and that's all coming up next inside the Josh Franke Coaches Show from Time and Change here in Westerville on Central Ohio Sports Network.
Buckeye football great and NFL Super Bowl champion Jim Lachey on sportsmanship.
Winning and losing can teach kids many lessons, but high school sports are truly about respecting your opponent, representing your school, and building the foundation for a lifetime of success. High school sports create memories that last a lifetime. And member schools of the OHSAA are committed to following a high set of standards. Whether it's on the field or in the stands, we can all do our part to respect the game.
This message brought to you by the Ohio High School Athletic Association.
Smokey the Bear.
Then you know why Smokey tells you when he sees you passing through. Remember, please be careful, it's the least that you can do.
What you desire, don't play with matches, don't play with fire.
After 80 years of learning his wildfire prevention tips, Smokey Bear lives within us all. Learn more at SmokeyBear.com. And remember,
only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Connect with Central Ohio Sports Network on Twitter and Instagram at COSN Audio, and like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Central Ohio Sports Network. COSN social media will have score updates, pictures from the game, audio clips, interviews, and more. Follow and like today. Central Ohio Sports Network. Sports coverage by the fans. You're listening to the Josh Franke Coaches Show on Central Ohio Sports Network.
Welcome back inside the Josh Franke Coaches Show here from Time and Change in Westerville. Brent Ford with you. Now joined with defensive backs coach Jacob Wallace. And Coach, thanks for joining us
No
here.
problem. Always good to be on here after a 5-turnover performance.
Five turnovers.
For sure.
Yeah, that's pretty big, right?
It was. What's funny is going into this week, we emphasized turnovers because I think first going into this game we had 0.
Yeah.
I think our last turnover was probably Central Crossing week 9 last year.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly. So really just emphasizing turnovers this week was our goal. So we changed a lot of our alignments, a lot of coverages, a lot of disguises, and because we knew they were going to come into this game air raiding us because they had a pretty solid quarterback, decent arm, they like to throw it deep, like to take shots. We knew that's what they wanted to do. So we wanted to put pressure on him and make him as uncomfortable as possible. So, again, we really changed up a lot of our alignments, disguises, coverages, took away everything deep, making him make decisions. And then, honestly, I think it helped out our D-line as well because he hesitated a lot. Our D-line was able to get there, make some sacks, some strip sacks, make him force some throws, and we capitalized on some picks. So I think we put a really good game plan together this week for him.
You put together quite the game plan last week, and they had to switch quarterbacks at halftime.
Yeah.
You could tell you made a point, and that something had to be done. When Lombardi came in that second half, it seemed like Jerome got a little bit of an offensive spark. He was able to move a lot quicker, some faster decisions. What did that then go into? And we'll speak specifically to your position of the defensive backs. That quick, how do you have to address the team and your position for those moments?
We really just emphasized keeping the foot on the gas, right? We were going to maintain having our safeties deep and playing our corners up the second half more because first half we had everyone playing back. So bumping up those corners to take away those flat threats that they started to hit in the second half, I think kind of helped out with that a little bit. So
when you're coaching these defensive backs, what is maybe one of the first couple points that you emphasize each and every single week that they have to keep in the back of their mind as they're playing a game?
Honestly, for me, it's technique.
Yeah.
Because as games go on and they are bad at it sometimes, as they get tired, their technique starts to fade. And when your technique fades at corner, quarterbacks like to capitalize on that. So really just maintain your knowing your job, executing your job, maintain your technique, and everything's gonna go fine. So that was that's my thing, really. Just do your job.
When you saw how Omar Bangura had an interception in this game, Bradley had an interception in this game, what that makes you had just a smile right there all of a sudden.
So,
that makes you happy,
I have
doesn't
a funny
it?
story.
Yeah?
Because Omar just came off. This was the first play of the drive. Omar just came off on offense. He's completely gassed. I'm like, Omar, we got to get you on that safety. And he was like, oh, bro, I don't know. I was like, let's go. Put him out there. First play, pick. You know, and then he has all that energy around the sideline.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So, I'm taking credit for that pick.
You take credit for that
I put
one?
him out there. He didn't want to go out there. So, as for Bradley, he stepped up big for us. He's a sophomore.
Mm-hmm.
After the North game against South, he's starting to get more reps every week, and he's just gotten better every week. So to be able to see him go out there and make a game-changing pick in the fourth quarter was awesome to see.
It seems like every part, every phase of this team and every position on the defensive side has made strides each and every single week.
Absolutely.
What have you seen from preseason practice to now week 5 practice?
Yeah, so here's the thing. Going into this year, we knew we were very young.
Mm-hmm.
My only returning starter was Jackson Mark,
Mm-hmm.
and he actually had got hurt in March and had got surgery in May. So I didn't get him until this week, this last week. So we knew there was going to be some growing pains there. But like you said, they've gotten better each week, and that's been the goal, really, just to get them better each week, because these are guys I'm going to have next year. Some guys I'm going to have for the next 2 years. So to see where we're headed and where the future is for the DB room, like, it's really good to see, for sure.
We're here with defensive backs coach Jacob Wallace of Westerville Central here on the Josh Franke Coaches Show. Coach Franke's going to join us in a little bit, and I'm going to ask him about these DBs. When you go back to your playing days and you think about how at your time at Westerville Central, how's it different from then to now?
How's it different? Well, for us, really, scheme. Scheme's probably the biggest thing, because for us, we were in cover 3 and a lot of man. But now we do a lot of split field coverages. There's a lot more variety of coverages and alignments to put our guys in the best position to make plays.
Yeah.
It's probably the biggest difference from a DB perspective from when I played till now. Putting those guys in position to make plays is definitely the biggest difference, for sure.
When Coach Franke comes into the helm here and things start to change a little bit and you get all this school spirit, how did that drive how you approach coaching?
He's the difference maker, for sure, because I think that's something that we've lacked in the last few years, probably since Morrison left, was the school pride. And he came in here and just he changed everything. Like, to be able to be in the school, and then it just, like, words can't describe. Like, I could say a million things. I just can't put together a lot right now. But he's changed everything from school pride, for real.
When we were talking about Bradley a couple minutes ago, what do you like out of his development so far over the last couple weeks? We touched on it briefly.
Really starting to pick up on things. Because, like, here's the thing. Like, when they're out there, a lot of coverage calls are on them, right? And a lot of people don't know that. Like, we game plan during the week. It's like, okay, we get these formations. We like this coverage, this coverage, this coverage. And they're calling on the fly based on formations and motions and all that stuff. So him being able to pick that up, because he struggled at it first. He struggled at it a lot. But as weeks went on, he was starting to pick it up, and he's starting to understand a little bit more. And when you understand a little bit more, right, now you can react and you can go make plays. So now you're starting to see him making plays because he knows what he's supposed to be doing. So that's probably the biggest thing week to week for them.
Preparation for Olentangy tomorrow night. What are we going to see out of your DBs going into this game?
Same thing as last week.
Same thing?
That's the goal. It's the goal every week going forward. We set the standard last week. So now, like, that was our biggest message in film on Saturday. All right, so we did this now. This is what we can be. This is what we can do. How can we build on it? All right, so we plan on doing that. We're going to take that same energy in the Olentangy. They're pretty similar to Jerome. They got a little bit more talent, but we're not going to shy away from that. So we're just going to go make plays.
Confidence has to be growing.
It has to, yeah, and it is. I mean, that win right there, and we've been saying all week, like, when you're building a program or rebuilding a program, wins like that or that's when you start to see the turn, right? And you start to see it with the kids. Like, weight room at 5 a.m. is the energy now has been picking up. And that's another thing I want to shout out our strength conditioning staff. I want to shout out Sledge, our mascot, okay? Because I think in the South game you really started to see it, is we're out physicaling teams, all right? But the difference in that game was execution. But when we got to Bell Fountain, we executed. We physical. Jerome, we were more physical and we executed. All right, so just keep building on that every week is what we're aiming for.
You talk about getting into the weight room, but I hear you're leading the charge for the volleyball team in the weight room.
I am.
Yeah?
I am, yeah. They had a really good off season. I picked up with them in March, and I'll tell you right now, and my guys are probably mad at this, working with female athletes is probably better, right? They're on it. They are on it. They're willing to learn. They're quick learners. They apply what you teach. They come in with a lot of energy every day. There's not really a day where they're down, you know. So that was the biggest pick away when I started working with them.
Coach, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Appreciate the time.
Yes, appreciate
That's
you.
defensive backs coach Jacob Wallace here on the Josh Franke Coaches Show from Time and Change, and we'll see his DBs in action tomorrow night at Olentangy, and we'll see what they can bring to the table. Coming up next is Cam Hebner, and thanks, Coach. Appreciate that. Cam Hebner's coming up next. We'll take a break when we come back on the Josh Franke Coaches Show.
Phone's blowing up, but you're in the driver's seat. Ignore the buzz, keep your eyes on the street. No text back, no scroll, just let it wait. Attention on the road, that's the only way. Phone's blowing up, but you're in the driver's seat. Ignore the buzz, keep your eyes on the street. No text back, no scroll, just let it wait.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Attention high school sports fans, are you an armchair official? You know, the parent or fan who constantly yells at the referees and loves to let everyone know just how bad you think they are. Well, if you think you could do better, then get in the game and prove it. It's time for you to suit up and make the calls where they actually count. Every sport in Ohio needs more officials. Sign up today at highschoolofficials.com.
Let's take a moment to breathe. Deep inhale. Extend your spine. Remain focused on what you're doing. If safe to do so, exhale slowly, leaning to one side. Inhale back to center. If safe to do so, exhale slowly to the opposite side. Find mental health resources at loveyourmindtoday.org. This message is brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
Welcome to today's game. This is Paul Keels, and you know how much I love broadcasting the Buckeyes, but I also love high school sports. On behalf of the OHSAA, let's all do our part to set a good example and make this a fun and safe experience for the kids involved. I know this game means so much to the players, coaches, and fans, but high school sports are about much more than the wins and losses. They teach life lessons that will be with the players long after their playing days are over. Good luck to both teams, and remember to respect the game.
You're listening to the Josh Franke Coaches Show on Central Ohio Sports Network.
Welcome back inside the Josh Franke Coaches Show from Time and Change here in Westerville. Glad you could be with us. Cam Hebner is joining us now, wide receiver for Westerville Central, who's had some great moments so far this year, and he's really been some sparks for this Westerville Central team. We actually get to dip into Minky's mailbox a little early. We get to have a question for Cam out of Minky's mailbox, so we'll get to that here in just a little bit. But for those that don't know, Cam, tell us what grade you're in and what positions you're playing right now.
I am a junior, and I'm playing outside receiver and a little bit of safety.
A little bit of safety, huh?
Yeah.
Well, that's one of those positions that I always think, to me, defensively is probably the hardest because I don't quite 100%, I'll be honest, understand how they can read everything. How do you know where to go?
I I don't know. I have always been told I have great anticipation. I really just like knowing your assignment and then reading the QB's eyes. Just kind of look where he's thinking about going, kind of just slide over and wait for him to throw the ball and just go get it.
How's this year different from last year?
The off season really just like Coach Schaefer and Coach Franke, they really helped us out, and I think everyone really just locked in this season, realized that last season didn't really go as much as we thought it would, and we just wanted to change it, and we really had a lot of seniors step up and become leaders.
When you're out there on the football field, you know, we'll get this Minky's mailbox question here for you. You know, Wes Minky asks, what's it like playing with a guy like Omar Bangura opposite of you, and how does it let you play a style that complements him and completes this offense?
I really like it. I mean, especially with him being a slot receiver and him being able to move around, like be on the same side as me, and with Coach Franke's motions and all that. I really like it. With his like shiftiness and ability, I really like it how teams can have to lock in on that, and then that allows me to be able to run my deep routes and just be open and find those open zones and let Nate do his thing.
Last week, it looked like on some of those punts that came your way, you maybe misjudged a little bit.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I know which one you're talking about. Yeah, it just kind of went a little back on me, a little more than I expected, and I was like, all right, I don't care if I fall, I just need to catch this.
Well, you know, you made up for it. You had some pretty good, impressive catches then in the second half.
Thank you.
When you're setting up and watching film each week, you know, what are some of the things that you key in on watching film of a defense?
I first usually look at the cornerbacks, like see what their tendencies are, like see if they're in man press, third zone, what types of coverages they run, and then like once we get that information, I like to find the weaknesses in those and like know that like based off the corner's tendencies and the safety tendencies, what can I do as a receiver to exploit that and get myself open.
Talking with wide receiver Cam Hebner from Westerville Central here on the Josh Franke Coaches Show. Cam, what's a pregame ritual or what's something you have to do every single game to get ready for?
I think I'm a little different than everybody else. I like to just put my AirPods in, listen to some music, nothing like crazy. I just like to focus, lock in for the game, like being myself, and just, you know, kind of just be in my zone, like alone. I'm not as much as like a hype guy, I feel like, as most people think I am. I don't blast music, sing, like all that. I just calm down, listen, lock in for the game.
Any superstitions?
No, not really. No.
Just music
just
and
music.
And get focused.
Yep.
That was kind of my thing when I was an athlete back in my time. So I get that. Not much of a, you know, let's get everybody rolling, more focused. You know, when you hear a lot of guys say, like, you know, they have to put on their left shoe first before their right foot, and then, you know, they go through these motions. In the locker room, what's it like? And I guess the question really is, compared to last year coming into the preseason and now the last couple of weeks, what's the locker room atmosphere been? How's everyone been handling the improvements, not getting too complacent, but it still has to be a little bit more fun?
Yeah. I mean, definitely the locker room has been getting louder after each week, especially after a win. I think everyone's kind of just keeping it the same. Like, you don't want to switch it up. Like, I don't know other guys' superstitions, but I'm sure they just want to keep the same energy. They don't want to, Omar really emphasizes, like, we need to keep the energy, but we don't want to think too much about it and, like, get over ourselves. We need to keep the energy, but then keep it the same and don't, like, think too much of ourselves. Like, we still got a hard schedule. We still got to focus in and do our jobs.
What's for dinner tonight? We're here at Time and Change. Are you going to get anything off the menu here?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go back to the wings. They were really good last week, and I'm going to get them again this week.
I had the fish and chips this week.
Fish and chips?
Yeah, it was pretty good.
I bet. I mean, that sounds pretty good.
I should stay away from anything that's fried, but I couldn't help myself. It sounded good tonight, so I went with that. What's Mom and Dad gonna have over there?
They haven't told me yet.
No?
No, I don't know.
I'd say your dad's probably our number one fan.
I would say so myself too. He's probably gonna get a pizza if I had to guess.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Pizza?
Pizza?
Yeah?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
We got the confirmation. Pizza it is. They've got great pizza here. And,
yeah.
Any of the food comes out, it's always amazing. Cam, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
No problem.
Thanks
Appreciate
so much.
it.
Good luck tomorrow night.
Thank you.
That's wide receiver Cam Hebner here on the Josh Franke Coaches Show. When we come back, we're going to have Coach Franke himself. We're going to recap this great win over Dublin Jerome last Friday. We'll also have the captains for this week. We'll do our stars of the game from last Friday night. We'll also get prepared for the Olentangy game. That's all coming up next inside the Josh Franke Coaches Show from Time and Change in Westerville on Central Ohio Sports Network.
Hi, I'm Beanie Wells. Whatever the sport, wherever it's played, there's one thing that student athletes, coaches, and fans can all share: sportsmanship. The Ohio High School Athletic Association Respect the Game campaign reminds us that school sports are so much more than wins and losses. On behalf of the OHSAA, let's all do our part to make school sports a fun, positive, and rewarding experience that student athletes will remember for a lifetime. Every game, every time, let's all respect the game.
This message presented by the Ohio High School Athletic Association.
The phone's blowing up, but you're in the driver's seat. Ignore the buzz, keep your eyes on the street. No text back, no scroll, just let it wait. Attention on the road, that's the only way. Phone's blowing up, but you're in the driver's seat. Ignore the buzz, keep your eyes on the street. No text back, no scroll, just let it wait.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
This isn't Madison Square Garden. These drills probably won't make anyone a #1 draft pick. But these players are practicing for something important. While they work on their jump shots, they're also learning teamwork, discipline, self-confidence, how to deal with wins and losses. Skills that will make them winners long after they leave the court. Support high school activities in your community, because when kids take part, they get set for life.
Put your phone on D&D, that means do not disturb when you're driving. And when you're going from point A to B, I need you to stay safe, please, so always sing with me. So put your phone on D&D, that means do not disturb when you're driving. And when you're going from point A to B, I need you to stay safe, please, so always remember this beat.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Josh Franke Coaches Show on Central Ohio Sports Network. With Brent Ford, here is the head coach of the Westerville Central Warhawks, Josh Franke.
A victorious Coach Franke. 2 wins in a row
right.
for Coach Franke.
What'd you say, 2022? Right?
2022, the last time you had 2 wins in a row for the program. 3 in a row was 2022 as well.
Wow.
So
we'll see.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
And it was 2020 the last time Westerville Central had above 500. They were 7-2 that year. It was 2020 COVID year.
Oh gosh, that was a miserable year.
That had to be for everyone.
Miserable year.
Yeah.
God, I'll never forget that year. I mean, not that you forget any specific year at all, but all of the hoops you had to jump through that just to try and – I think we only played 9 games that year too. That's just – it's awful for those kids, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and you play was your conference games only at that point? At least around here it was. We played our divisional games only.
We were not. See, I was at Toronto at the time, and we were supposed to open our season against Wellsville, and we went through our walkthrough, and I walked off the field Thursday night from our walkthrough and got a phone call from the Wellsville coach that they had just had like 8 players test positive, and they had to cancel the game.
Wow. And
myself and the athletic director were on the phone until probably about 1 a.m. looking for a game, anybody who would play us. and couldn't find anybody. And then the next morning at like 9:30 in the morning, we, Division 7, found Division 4 Pepper Pike Orange to come down and play us. And like, thank God we worked at a district that was super supportive, because they allowed our coaching staff to have the second half of the day off for us to kind of just scramble to game prep for Pepper Pike Orange and just throw something together so we could have a game that night. And we had players come up at the second half of the day, and we did a film session, and it was great. That whole year was just crazy.
It
man.
was. Yeah, I had to call 2 basketball games from my basement.
Oh my!
So it was Westland and Gahanna. They wouldn't allow us to come in there, so I was able to pull up the video stream, and I had on my desk, I've got like 3 monitors, so I was able to put the game video on one screen. I had stats up on the other, and I was sitting at my desk with my headset calling the game from there.
That's crazy.
You know, and I saw pictures of other radio guys during that time, like Ohio State, Paul Keels and them. They were calling from the control room at the Shoe or the Schottenstein Center for football and basketball when they went on the road. It was just incredible that year.
Yeah,
everything was very different. Well, Coach, this year, though, you've got your second straight win, 24-16 over Dublin Jerome. I don't know if you heard it earlier, but, you know, several people that I had talked to in my little media circle said, we don't see Westerville Central getting any more wins for a while. And I said, okay.
I guarantee they didn't expect us to get a win last Friday.
No one thought that. No one thought that. And I'll be a little honest. I had some fears going into that game.
Yeah.
But when you started with a 15-play drive, 65 yards, 8 minutes and 8 seconds off the clock, and you get a touchdown from Miller to Buss, 10-yard touchdown, and you had control of that game in that moment, I thought this is a very, very different Warhawk squad.
So you know it's. So first off, I had told people that week that we were going to win. I just felt like offensively, when you compared our offense to their defense, I felt like we could move the ball. Like I really felt like we were just offensively better than their defense, and I really felt that. And I told people, I'm like, I think we're gonna win. And but going to that drive, I think it's funny is that a lot of people who aren't on the sidelines don't realize what happens a lot of time during the game. There was probably about 3 plays in that drive that we did not call. There were 2 different occasions where Nate's risk coach did not match up with the call number on the call sheet.
Really?
So like I was calling a number, and he would come out, and it'd be a completely different formation, and I'd be like, "What are we doing? What are they running?" And they would run this play, and when we went to the wishbone and we ran the counter on 4th down to Omar, that was a no call. That was a freeze call, trying to get him to jump off sides. I have no idea where they got the counter call from. So like we're sitting there, and I'm waiting for the hard count, and all of a sudden they snap the ball, and I'm like, uh-oh. And then they hit this counter for, it was a chunk play.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. So, I mean.
Keep moving.
Listen, that first drive was the most chaotic, hectic first drive, where there was multiple occasions where we were like, what's happened? Like the touchdown to Buss was not a call. That was not what we called.
Really?
And, he pulls that ball, and I'm like, what's he doing? What's he doing? Like, we were going to try to punch it on the ground, and he throws and connects with Buss, and I'm like, all right. Like, what do you say at that point? So sometimes I think, things are just, things are going your way. Luck's on your side. The sage mist kicks in.
You're going to bring that up every time, aren't you?
I mean, come on, man.
It's worked.
It's 2 weeks in a row.
That's 2 weeks in a row. So, okay, so how does that work on the road then for you?
Listen, I don't know. I've battled this all week, because now you start getting your own head, and you're like, all right, I'm going to wear the same thing this week. And then you start thinking to yourself, like, wait a minute. What if that's only good for home games? Like, what if I have to find a different type of attire to wear for away games? Like, maybe it's a completely different structure. And so I don't know what I'm going to do yet.
No?
No, I'll be laying in bed tonight thinking about it before I make my decision.
I wear the same shirt every week, every game.
I'll probably go the same. Then after the game, if things don't go the way we plan, I'll be really mad at myself that I didn't change it up, but it is what it is.
I will say the one thing that stayed consistent for me through, I looked 360, almost 70 broadcasts in my time, is I've had the same headset.
Yeah?
That's it. That's the one thing that stayed constant.
You know what I did do is I switched my headset to the other side so I could. So the past 2 games I've also had my headset switched up.
So now that's in your head too.
I mean, I got to keep it that way, right? I mean,
yeah,
it's
you do.
working.
You do.
So I'll be on cough drops again tomorrow, despite I don't have a cough anymore. And it's just, well, you know what? You know what's funny? I don't know if Wes said anything over the mic. So Storied Rivals does all of our videography and follows us around. And for whatever reason, Bell Fountain, they typically mic me up, but for Bell Fountain, they didn't mic me up. And we're in pregame last week, and the guy comes running up. He's like, "Hey, here's your mic. Just throw that in there." And I grabbed it, and I said, "Hey," he starts walking. I'm like, "Hey," I was like, "Do you care if I don't wear this?" And he was like, "You don't have to." And I was like, "Well, I didn't wear it last week, and we won, so I'm not going to wear this tonight." And he was like, "Yeah, if that's what you want to do." And I said, "If we don't win, I'll wear it again next week, but, maybe it's the mic, so I'm not going to risk it." And he, kind of looked at me weird, and I was like, "Sorry."
Everyone else understands Coach Franke in this moment.
So yeah, even the Storied Rivals guy, didn't get me mic'd up because they didn't for Bell Fountain. So I'm bad. I'm real bad. I have one of our running backs coach, science teacher, and he can't stand it. He
just shakes his head.
Yeah, he thinks it's complete witchcraft. But you know what? I come from a German background, and that's superstition and folklore and stuff like that. I think that's genetically kind of just passed down almost.
I remember doing a basketball game, and thank you. I remember doing a basketball game, and I had my boom mic on the other side, and I was doing a horrible call. It was a horrible call. I was messing up names and numbers and places on the. And so at halftime, my dad, who does stats for me during basketball, he says, "Why is your mic all messed up?" And it clicked.
Yeah,
I had to switch it over, and the second half I was golden.
Well, it's funny you say that, and then I told you about the science teacher, but even he jumped on the bandwagon last Friday. He's like, "Whoa!" He's like, "Now I feel like I gotta start doing." I'm like, "Yeah, that's right.
You gotta wear the same stuff now." Coach, let's get to Dublin Jerome. You had a 17-0 lead at halftime. You had a great interception by Omar Bangura. Coach Wallace was telling us that. He said, "Omar, get in there. We need a safety in there. We need a corner in there." And it was one play, and he was able to jump it.
That's just a situation where I don't know. You just get again. I think we've talked about this before. You just get this feeling and I think you gotta follow your instincts. And it was just one of those ones where Omar's he's a super athlete. He's probably our most athletic kid. They're going to be throwing the ball because they're down. They're trying to get something going into halftime. I think they had only run something like 11 plays.
Probably.
Something like that where, if you're the opposing offensive coordinator, you're kind of, chomping at the bit to get to some plays and get something, some type of confidence. So we knew they were probably going to try to throw the ball a little bit. And it's just one of those things hey, go get your athlete, throw them out there and just say, "Hey, go make a play."
How important was that field goal, though, going into halftime, making a 3-possession?
Ginormous.
Yeah.
Ginormous. I really wish we would have scored. And man, I thought there was two, the pass interference call to Cam Hebner in the back end zone. I thought that was close. And the toe touch catch by Buss on the side, I watched that several times over, and I think he was in. I think that was a phenomenal catch where he tight-roped that. But, it is what it is. We were still able to get the field goal, and going in half 17-0. I mean,
3-score game.
No doubt. But also our kids have never been in that situation. You know what I mean? Since I've been here, they've not been in that situation. So we immediately got in the locker room, and it was just, hey, this game is not over. We just scored 17 points. They have a high-powered offense. They can score 17 points as fast as we did. You got to finish. It's 0-0. Got to win the third quarter, and just really trying to make them realize, this is nowhere even close to being done.
Third quarter starts, and they Dublin Jerome bring on a different quarterback. Lombardi comes out. That really sparks something in them. They score in that third quarter 17-7 with a 75-yard drive and takes about 3 minutes off the clock. Your defense, though, had a lot of good moments.
No doubt.
2 strip sacks in this one. Greg Woods, Moise Crozier with that big scoop and getting it inside the 2-yard line. Talk to me about the difference of Dublin Jerome in the second half with their offense. They had a little bit of a spark with Lombardi coming in at quarterback.
Yeah, Lombardi's legs were something that we just, we weren't accounting for. Our defensive game plan, we didn't really think that, and I told you last week, I didn't think this kid, the starter, was looking to run. He's looking to get stuff on film and looking to pass, so we weren't really anticipating any quarterback run at all, and our defense was set up more to prevent big-time passes. Deep downfield shots, and I think that worked really well in the first half. And then when Lombardi comes in and he's running the football, and we haven't accounted for that. You almost then have to pick. Do you want to try and take away the deep pass, or do you want to try to take away the quarterback run? And we still, knowing they were down 17-0, we sacrificed their ability to run the ball a little bit more effectively to prevent the deep downfield pass.
In the second half, they were able to get into the end zone with Slate in that middle of the fourth quarter, 24-16. Your defense then held after that. Another strip sack by Greg Woods, Bradley with the interception. You had that field goal that was no good very late in the last minute or so, but when you look at the overall performance of the fourth quarter, how do you rate how your offense performed and how your defense performed?
Well, first, before we get to that, let's go back to the botch, the high snap overhead that resulted in the safety.
I was going to try to spare you of that.
Let's talk about that.
You want to talk about that?
That's obviously a bad moment, and I think that is a moment where not only our coaches, but I believe our players are starting to think to themselves, like, here we go.
Yeah.
Like, uh-oh. You start to see the tides kind of turn a little bit.
A mindset moment.
Momentum starts to slip away, and all of that confidence starts to, you kind of let some air out of the balloon. And, man, does Greg Woods and Moise make the play of the game. When it seems like it's starting to go south and we're not going to be able to hold on and very doom and gloom, Greg gets that sack. Moise picks it up, runs it down to 2, which results in our last touchdown of the game to kind of help seal the deal and put us out of reach. Without that play, I don't know if we win that football game. And that play couldn't have come at a better time because you could feel that momentum shifting.
Yeah.
And when they made that play, it was just boom, all back. But then when I think about offensively, I went back and there's no harder critic on themselves than me.
Yeah.
And I thought we called a pretty good game the third quarter. I thought the third quarter was pretty good. We had some misdirection runs. Kevin King being out the second half really hurt us, hurt production. But I think we had some good misdirection runs. We were able to get a couple first downs and stuff. We just couldn't finish drives. That fourth quarter, after that strip sack and run down to the 2-yard line, that final score, after that I felt like personally I was trying to run a 4-minute offense within 7 minutes. You know what I mean? And it was, I think I was trying to manifest one of those 15-play drives that take 7 minutes off the clock and we win the game. And I think they knew that's what we were trying to do. They loaded the box. Probably should have thrown a couple passes in there. But again, in the moment you're thinking to yourself, like, you really want to put that kind of pressure on your freshman quarterback to close out a game. To make good decisions and take care of the football and close the game out. And I just, as well as we've been running the ball the past several weeks and as well as our line's done, it's like I just felt it was to our advantage to try and run the ball, keep that clock running.
Yeah.
Like Woody Hayes said it best, you go to throw the football, 3 things can happen and 2 of them are bad. So,
yes.
And that's when you're trying to run the clock out, that's not what you want.
Yeah.
So, we erred on the side of caution and maybe played a little too conservative, and that's something I definitely have analyzed myself on throughout the week, and probably would have called it a little different, but you live and learn, right? I mean, I think I knew in the moment how important that game could be to our season, winning that game.
Yeah.
The points that are going to be involved, and our hopes of getting into the playoffs, and the schedule doesn't get any easier. So like when you can get one of those, like, you have to have it.
Yeah.
And I think anyone's going to be conservative when you're applying that kind of pressure to yourself, I guess.
We're here with Coach Franke at Time and Change for the Josh Franke Coaches Show. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk captains for this week, player of the games. We'll also have a little fundraiser announcement that I saw came through.
Oh, yeah.
We got to talk about that as well. Try to get some help in that area for Westerville Central. And then we'll after that, dive into Minky's mailbox as well.
Perfect.
That's all coming up next inside the Josh Franke Coaches Show from Time and Change on Central Ohio Sports Network.
Check the back seat. Check the back seat. All right, come here. Check the back seat.
Gets in your head, right? Good. Because every year, dozens of children are forgotten in the backseat of a car by a parent or caregiver. All never thought it could happen to them. But with changes in routines, distractions, or a sleeping child, it can happen to anyone. Parked cars get hot, fast, and can be deadly. So get it in your head.
Check the back seat.
A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
The year was 1907. The Cubs won the World Series and the Ford Model R hit the assembly line. While here in Ohio, school administrators came together to form the Ohio High School Athletic Association. One thing that hasn't changed since 1907 is the dedication of the OHSAA to education-based athletics in Ohio. School sports teach responsibility, sportsmanship, and life lessons that stay with students long after their playing days are over. The OHSAA seeks to prepare students not for the next level of sport, but for the next level of life.
I'm a pretty great multitasker. I can wash dishes and do laundry. I can roller skate while walking my dog. I can even order lunch while doing my homework. But I can't use my phone while driving. A distracted driver is one of the leading causes of death in the United States. So when it comes to driving, please, don't be a multitasker.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Former Ohio State and NFL quarterback Bobby Hoy on life lessons through sports.
The member schools of the Ohio High School Athletic Association share in the mission of educational athletics. That means that school sports are an extension of the classroom and play an important part of a well-rounded education. Student athletes do a lot more than just play sports, but it's the lessons they learn through sports that last a lifetime.
This message brought to you by the Ohio High School Athletic Association.
You're listening to the Josh Franke Coaches Show on Central Ohio Sports Network. Back with Westerville Central head football coach Josh Franke. Here is Brent Ford.
Live from Time and Change, the Josh Franke Coaches Show on COSN. Brent Ford and Josh Franke back with you. Coach, I know one last thing about last week that popped into my head when we were talking during the break was the early timeouts that you've had to use in the first quarter. In the last couple weeks. You burned 2 of them last week pretty early on. That's pretty rough.
Listen,
does that go back to the whole wristband thing?
No, that one didn't. It's kind of like become like our weekly tradition at this point. Like for whatever reason, that first drive of I feel like every game, something gets messed up somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if a receiver's running in the play, he messes up the play, and they come out and they're lined up not where they're supposed to be, or they don't get out of the huddle fast enough. Like, something always happens.
Yeah.
And when they line up, they're not lined up properly, and you hate to call a timeout, but like last week, I knew that first drive was so important to that game. Like, I knew that if we could sustain a drive and score points, that could set the tone for the rest of the game. And you hate to burn them that early, but I just really felt like it was that important that we had to have success that first drive. And there's other times where we'll let them, like, they may not be lined up properly, or there might be one guy out of place, and they'll call, I'll let them just run it, and we'll just roll with the punches. And sometimes it works out, and sometimes it doesn't. But it's better than burning a timeout. And that situation was like, we have to have success here. Like, we have to have a good drive here. So had to burn it, hated doing it. But there's another time that actually – so we run, I don't know how much people pay attention, but we run so many different personnel groupings on.
Oh,
like
yeah. No.
Tight ends, fullbacks, 5 wide receivers. Like, we really get a lot of kids involved, and there's just a lot of moving parts to it. And every once in a while, the kids get yelled at, but, like, we'll be out there with 12 kids. And if we catch it before the officials do, you got to get a timeout in, because if they catch you with 12 out there, it's a penalty. And if you break the huddle with 12, it's a penalty. So there was one time in that first drive last week that we had 12 out there. We caught it before they did, and we had to call a time. We don't want to lose 5 yards. So.
Right.
Yeah, it's
tough.
It is. But you know what? And then, like, you get that first drive out of the way, and then it's like, hey, we're good. We're fine.
You're good, yeah.
And I don't know.
We're gonna see a couple timeouts in the first possession then this
Superstition.
week. Yeah.
No, I hope not. God, please.
Well, Coach, last week, you know, probably a lot of players that could be your stars of the game. Who do you think really? Let's go to all three phases: offense, defense, special teams. Who do you think shined in each phase of the game last week?
I think Omar Bangora is a name to mention.
Yep.
I mean, offensively, had some plays on defense.
Yep.
Made some plays there. Had an interception. I think you got to mention Cohen Buss.
Yep.
Scores a touchdown, kicks a field goal before half. Like, that's 2 field goals on the season for him. I mean, that's for a kid that he's not a soccer player that's just there. That's something else we talked about. Like, you watch their kickers warm up last game, pregame. They're hitting like 50-yard field goals.
Yeah.
And you can tell they're like soccer kids, and they've been trained to kick field. Like, we have a tight end kicking field goals for us. You know what I mean? Like, and so the fact that he's not a true, purebred kicker, and he's out there making kicks, I mean, that's hard to do. Like, I don't think I've ever kicked a field goal between the uprights. I've tried numerous times. I don't think
I've never tried.
I can drop kick a field goal, but I can't hold her or anything.
No.
I can't do it. But Cohen Buss is definitely one you mentioned. And how do you not talk about Greg and Moise? I mean, Greg Woods, 3.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. I mean, dude was on fire. So I think you got to throw his name in there, Moise's name in there, and then I think you got to give a shout out to our secondary. And they were. Again, I told you last week we were going to have a chance. We had to have some turnovers and end up having 2 interceptions, 2 fumble recoveries. I mean, that, in my opinion, that's the difference in the ballgame right there. So
I agree.
A lot of guys. I mean, and then listen, I think Nate Miller played his best game. I think you're starting to see him get comfortable. Starting to figure it out, like, hey, I can do this. I just need to calm down a little bit, and I think he's starting to, starting to just really buy in and get comfortable in the game.
Yes. Coach, I think before we go on to your captains, we got to talk about the fundraiser that's going on for Westerville Central. I had it pulled up, but you're looking to get a new mascot for Westerville Central, and I saw Principal Sayer push out the QR codes where you can buy T-shirts that'll go toward the new mascot, or a QR
flat donation,
or just a flat donation. $2,500 is the goal, from what I saw.
Yeah.
And it's gonna stick with Sledge on the name.
Yeah, and listen, she's been super supportive of everything we've done, all the cultural stuff that we've tried to implement. She is a champion of culture as well, and I think that together we've kind of made a really good team as far as pushing culture, and I think this is just another step in that direction. I think the sports teams, not just the football team, but the sports teams that have rallied around the idea of Sledge and what it represents, it represents hard work. It represents toughness. It represents being physical and putting in the work, and I think that name is just symbolic of the type of culture that we're trying to establish in our sports programs here. I mean, like our volleyball program is in there. I just spoke with our cross-country coach before leaving. The cross-country team's in there lifting. As I was walking out to my car, so that was before my conferences, then I had parent-teacher conferences, and then as I'm walking out of my car, I can hear music blaring. Another group's in there lifting. So it's just like that has become not just a football identity of being in that weight room and, creating physical and mental toughness, but
sorry about that.
That's all right, man. I thought you were getting excited.
I was.
But I think that's not just a football thing. It's an all-sport thing. So, and Coach Schaefer has played a huge role in that as well, putting an emphasis on strength training and how important it is. And so,
yeah, it looks like is that just a representation of what you're going to get?
You know what, man? I'm not going to lie to you. I learned about this probably the same time you did. And I'm sure at some point, it was mentioned to me, but I've just been so tunnel visioned the past 4 weeks I miss stuff.
I kind of like the design that was put out on the graphic.
Yeah.
It's simple but tough.
Yeah.
I like it.
Listen, man, it's...
Or maybe just a complete representation of Sledge himself.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know who designed it. I don't know where it came from. I don't know if that's the actual design. I don't know. Maybe throw a sweater on him like the actual retro Sledge mascot. I don't know. Listen, I just love that we're rallying around this kind of stuff, and I think it's important to your not just your sports programs. I think it's important to the culture of your school.
Well, there's a lot of ways to donate, and we'll be sure to repost those on our social medias at COSN Audio. You can find it through the Warhawk Footballs account. You can find it through the Sports Performance. You can find it just about anywhere right now, raising funds for a new mascot Sledge. It's probably been the same one since the school opened.
I'm sure you're probably right.
Would be my guess.
I'm sure you're probably right.
Yeah, so this will be the second one in 20-some years.
I know who's going to be the mascot.
Do you?
I do. I'm excited about them.
Okay.
I think they're going to be really good.
I'm
going to keep it secret, but...
So back in 2002, I was Cardi during the men's basketball championship run at Otterbein.
No kidding.
I was in 6th grade, I think, 6th or 7th grade, running around with the
What year was that?
2002.
Oh, well, I would have just missed you.
Yeah.
I just missed you.
That was quite the atmosphere inside the Reich Center.
How cool would that have been if I was been at a game and you were the Cardinal at the same game? That would have been weird.
I was the Cardinal for a few years after that still.
So what about 05?
No, I would have been running cross country for Coach Loftman.
Oh, well, that would have been neat.
Yeah.
But I guess we just missed each other.
Yeah, just a little bit. It was fun. That was a great year. You get.
Is that the year they won the national championship?
It was.
Yeah.
And actually, baseball canceled their spring break trip to go to the national championship because they wanted to be there to support. I actually got into a fight with the Blue Jay from Elizabethtown. So some college kid taking on a middle schooler. He had one punch. I went down to the ground, and then I just came up swinging.
Look at you. That's good. That's a good story.
Yeah, and there was a guy doing a documentary on mascots at the time too. He was going around like the Philly Fanatic. He was doing all kinds of things, and at the time, I was the youngest mascot in the country.
No kidding.
Yeah. It never got made. He couldn't get the rights to everything.
I feel like this needs to be like a Netflix Untold series.
It is. It is.
We need to get it going.
I'd be happy to participate. I've got the national championship ring sitting.
There you go.
Sitting at home. Coach, who's going to be the captains this week to represent Westerville Central at the Olentangy game?
So we are going with Greg Woods.
That seems natural.
Omar Bangora. Yep. Noah Mitchell and Cam Hebner.
We had Cam Hebner on tonight.
He balled out last week, man. Made some tough catches. I really think that one in the back of the end zone was a catch. That one-hander with the PI. I'm obviously biased, but I mean.
I wouldn't expect anything less.
We told you, man. He's nicknamed Mr. Dependable, and I don't know. I can't remember who Nate was talking to. Nate was talking to somebody, and I overheard him talking. And he was like, "Coach Franke said he's Mr. Dependable. If you just throw it up to him anywhere around him, he'll get it." And he's right. He's like, "I learned my lesson." So you might see Nate just throwing some prayers up to Cam and seeing how it goes. So.
We talked to Cam a little bit ago on the show, and I said it looked like you misjudged some of the punts last week, and having to backtrack a little bit, falling backwards on one of those. My vision for a football in the air coming down at me would be terrible, but it has to be pretty hard to judge where the football's coming from in that position.
Maybe this is something I need to talk to him. I don't know if I've ever even had this conversation with him or not, but when you get really good punters who can punt the ball and they can punt a spiral, that's when it becomes really hard. But the trick is you have to judge the point of the ball. So the point closest to you, if that point is pointing down, it's dropping and you need to come up. If that point is still up, then you need to back up. It's probably clearing you. But you have to read the point of that ball, and that might not be something. I mean, let's be honest. That's not something that comes up in conversation all the time. So maybe that's something I need to talk to him about. But again, you also don't see punters at the caliber of what those guys were. I mean, the hang time was outrageous.
Yeah.
And I mean, they had kids that were place kickers and kickoff specialists and punters who you can tell like they've had training, like they're going to a professional kicking coach, and like they had some legit kickers.
Let's look at Minky's mailbox real quick, Coach. I know he had a couple questions in here for us. Moise Crozier, Greg Woods, both 6+ sacks this season. How does that allow your team to play more against the pass and attempt to defend it as well as they have recently?
I think like last week, it allowed us to play a little deeper in coverage. And again, we were taking away the deep ball. But, by doing that and us playing off a little bit more to get those deep passes downfield, that requires time. And when you have those two coming after you, you don't have that kind of time.
No.
You better get rid of it quick. And so I think it complements a lot. I mean, so, the thing that's hard about this league or this conference is every week you see some very high caliber athletes. And, we just don't have some of the athletes that some of these other schools have. So, where a Pick North can play like press coverage, we just can't get away with doing that, So we have to get more creative with our coverages and disguising things. But, by being able to play off a little bit, we complement each, Greg Woods and Moise allow us to play complementary football. We're not going to give away the deep pass. We're going to force you to throw quickly. You have to throw quickly because of Greg and Moise. But again, that takes a lot of patience from an offensive coordinator and a quarterback. As a guy that's been around quarterbacks a long time, they don't want to throw the 5-yard pass.
Right.
Because it's not a highlight pass.
It's not flashy.
It's not pretty.
Yeah.
It doesn't ooh and awe the crowd. They want to throw the deep ball, And if you find a kid or a quarterback that's willing to nickel and dime you all the way down the field, then good for them. Good for them. So I think, again, Moise and Greg allow us to kind of play, to not give up the big play, and they definitely help our secondary and coverage for sure.
Coach, we'll dive into this Olentangy game coming up next. We'll go back into Minky's mailbox as well in the next segment, and we'll have more from Time and Change after this on the Josh Franke Coaches Show on Central Ohio Sports Network.
Cats are masters at using up their 9 lives, like chasing laser pointers into walls or jumping onto high shelves. But the one thing cats never do, text while driving. So be like a cat and protect your one and only life. Don't text and drive.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
I loved playing high school sports. I loved the competition, the camaraderie, the bands, the crowds, all the pageantry, and I wanted to keep playing. But I graduated. No colleges called, and neither did the pros. So, to stay close to the game I loved, I decided to become a high school official. A referee. When I played high school sports, I learned the importance of integrity, good sportsmanship, and respect for the rules. Now, as a high school official, I get to help model these same values to others. Maybe the colleges and the pros didn't call, but the kids in Ohio did. And now, I'm enjoying the competition, the camaraderie, the bands, the crowds, and all the pageantry of high school sports all over again.
Interested in becoming a licensed high school official? Go to highschoolofficials.com to learn more and begin the application process.
They are role models and educators. Their work requires a great deal of time and energy for very little pay. Who are these unsung heroes?
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
The simple truth about education-based athletics in Ohio is this. Without a committed team of coaches and administrators, they just wouldn't be possible. School sports, they bring out the best in all of us. This message presented by the Ohio High School Athletic Association and the Ohio Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
You're listening to the Josh Franke Coaches Show on Central Ohio Sports Network. Back with Westerville Central head football coach Josh Franke. Here is Brent Ford.
The Josh Franke Coaches Show from Time and Change here in Westerville. Brent Ford back with Warhawk head coach Josh Franke. Coach, you're taking on Olentangy tomorrow night, a team that is in the power rankings in Central Ohio. Their only loss is to Olentangy Orange, who is probably
Really good.
number one overall right now. They're a really good squad, but Olentangy is always, even when they have, I'll put it in quotes, a down year, they're still pretty tough.
Yeah.
Any Olentangy school is. Even if you are with what the record looks like for Olentangy Liberty, doesn't mean that they're not a good football team.
Right.
But you have a challenge ahead of you tomorrow night. What does going on the road for the second time this year, you just went 3 weeks at home.
Yeah.
The schedule's a little wonky that way. But now it's your second road game. It's week 5. How do you mentally prepare your team for a road game, and you haven't been on the road in 4 weeks?
I honestly, there's not much that changes. I mean, we still go through our pregame routine the day of. We'll still eat our team meal. We'll go and do a walkthrough. We do all those things, and we just kind of get ready, get on the bus. You don't have as much downtime to do we have a lot of kids that will kind of go put their headphones on or meditate or just go kind of get in the zone. I mean, you don't have a lot of time for that, but we'll hop on the bus and we'll go there. It's just kind of like a business trip, you know what I mean? And it's I think the nice thing in this area is you're traveling, but you're not traveling very far. We were in Toronto one time. They traveled 4 hours. So you don't get those kind of trips.
Right.
So we would have to leave school at noon, and you'd have to coordinate a place to stop and eat, and that doesn't happen up here. So,
No.
I think that's nice. I mean, I think our longest trip this year is
Pickerington?
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm. I did the math preseason.
Did you?
Yeah.
So I think I know to some people they're like, oh man, to me that's that's nothing.
Yeah.
So again, I think it's not going to change. I think we kind of remind ourselves that our one win last year was on the road. So just go and play football, man.
I'm used to going down, Hilliard once or twice during basketball, down to Grove City, Galloway, Pickerington a couple times. I'm used to going around the outer belt for basketball games. So your longest road game of the year is at Pickerington North, which is next Friday. But Nate Miller, we talk about the freshman quarterback off and on throughout the first 4 weeks, and we talk about how good he's looking more comfortable each week in that pocket. How comfortable do you hope that he can be tomorrow night against Olentangy? They're just a tough squad on the defensive side.
It is, and we're playing a very unconventional defense. So they're a 3 high safety defense, and you saw this a lot in the Big 12. This is kind of where it started, was in the Big 12. Actually, to be honest with you, Gannon was one of the first colleges running this defense. And then there wasn't many people running it, and what's his face Gundy out of Oklahoma State actually goes and hires Gannon's defensive coordinator. We're talking D2 school. Goes and hires Gannon's defense coordinator to come run the Oklahoma State defense because he wanted the 3 high safety look that Iowa State was running.
Yep.
So it kind of gets to the Big 12. You got teams like Baylor runs it. You have teams like Iowa State and Oklahoma State are running it, and then now, like last year, you started seeing Ohio State get into it a little bit, and it's starting to become more popular. But really, what it is you take that middle high safety, and he almost is like a free access player. So if he gets a pass read, he can be a middle high free safety. No pass responsibility, just follow the quarterback's eyes, go make a play. If he gets a run read, he can insert himself down into the box, and then he can become an additional linebacker. And what really stinks is because he's a safety pre-snap, you don't account for him in the run game, which makes it really, really hard, because then you have a free access player that comes down to the box. And then they can do some other stuff with him, like you go 3-by-1, like he'll man up the number 3 receiver, or if like you're an RPO team, a lot of times that middle high safety is responsible for the pass read off the run option. So, as a quarterback, you think like, I'm going to pull it because I have a window, and he comes in, he closes that window, and he's supposed to almost be like an eraser, and makes everything right. So that's hard because you don't see that.
Right.
High school teams aren't running that, and you don't see very much of it. And as a quarterback, the way we teach our quarterbacks, or the way a lot of quarterback coaches train their quarterbacks, is when you walk up to under center, you're to identify, do you have single high or you have 2 high safeties? And now he's walking out there and he's like, I got 3. So what the problem with that is post snap, depending on what that safety does, you could end up having a single high safety, or you could end up having 2 high safeties. And now you have a quarterback who, in our case, is a freshman, and you're asking him to make a post-snap read. And the average high school plays about 3 seconds. You have in the pocket as a quarterback, you have less than 3 seconds. By the time that ball gets snapped and it's to the quarterback, it's about 0.8 seconds. So then you have from 0.8 to 3 seconds to get rid of the ball. So now you're asking that kid in 2.2 seconds to identify the coverage, make the proper read, and throw the football. And that is a lot to ask a freshman to do.
Well, and so what are you asking him to do then tomorrow night? How do you want him to approach the look that he's going to see?
So I think, the first thing that we've talked to him about is, just take what they give you. Like, there are pockets, there are holes, and you need to know where those holes are. You need to be able to identify those holes. The other thing that they do is if you get them in certain formations, their coverage becomes pretty predictable. So in this formation, here's what they're running. So, by doing that, we can schematically call some things that we already know should be open or available when he gets to that point in his progression, just based off how what they're running, what their rules are defensively. So I think there's a lot of things offensively that we're going to do tomorrow that's going to help combat this defense just by alignment principles that we run, their defensive rules and assignments, and then this is all part of the chess match, right? How can we put their defense, based off of the rules of their defense, how can we put them in a bad situation that they don't necessarily want to be in? The good news for us is one of the best ways to battle a 3 high safety defense is to run a lot of 12 personnel, which is 2 tight ends. And if you could throw a fullback in there, it makes it even harder, because now really what is it? It's a dime defense. And if you start running 2 tight ends and a fullback, that's not really the right personnel that you want to be in. Now, to complicate things for us, I make it sound really easy, and it's not.
I was going to say.
Because they have a nose tackle who's going to Navy. Their middle linebacker is committed and going to Ohio State. And their middle high safety, the guy that's the eraser, supposed to be the best guy on the team, he's going to Clemson. So every single level of their defense, they have a guy that's going to go play major Division I football.
Yeah.
And that's a hard ask for any offense to combat. So this is one of the best defenses we'll see all year.
Nate Miller, digging into the Minky mailbox here. Nate Miller has settled in at quarterback quite nicely recently. How does a quarterback who is playing confident change the way you call the game, especially down the stretch, if a game is tight?
Well, I think I think last segment, when we were talking about Jerome, I kind of answered that as we still don't want to ask him to do too much.
Right.
And I don't think there's going to be a point in this year that we're going to ask him to do too much, or we're going to ask him to try and win us a football game. I think the biggest thing right now that we're trying to do, or the best way we can help Nate, is this year needs to be about developing his confidence as a high school quarterback. I want to get him through this year and into the off season going into next year being like, I can do this, and I can do this well. I can be good at this. And if we can get him to that point, then that sets up for success when, successful seasons when we can say, hey, Nate, we're going to need you to throw the ball 30 times this game, and he'll be able to do it. Right now, he's not there, and we just need to continue to manage the game. Like, yes, he's looked better, but the worst thing we can do is throw him into the deep end and be like, okay, he's ready, and he's not.
Staying on your offense, Coach, Kevin King-Foku went down at halftime last week. Can we expect to see him back this week?
He's had a strong week of rehab. He's moving way better this week, or the end of this week, than he was at the beginning of the week. It's kind of I hate to say it's a game time decision, but it might be one of those things where he throws pads on and goes through pregame warm-ups, and it's either a yay or a nay. It could be as simple as he's going to go, but we're going to limit his carries and make sure Rylan Moran gets more. Or, the trainers might be like, he's
good to go.
He's ready to roll,
yeah.
and he'll be full tilt. University of Pittsburgh stopped in earlier this week. They wanted to speak with him, and they wanted to speak with Moise and Cam Hebner and Brock. And I think that's kind of motivating him a little bit more to kind of really aggressively attack this rehab and get back on the field, because I think he knows that he's got some eyes on him now.
Yeah.
So
let's switch to the defense. Wes is huge on Noah Mitchell, so he starts the question with my guy. Noah Mitchell has played really well and been a key cog in the defensive line rotation as of late. Can you speak to his game a little bit and how he impacts this D-line's ability to chase the passer?
Sure. So, Noah's kind of in the interior, and a lot of times we're asking those interior guys to eat up double teams. And by doing so, what it does is it frees up Moise and Greg to be in a one-on-one situation, which allows them to be really successful. So Noah is playing a very unselfish role in doing that, and he's kind of putting the team first and saying, I'm going to sacrifice myself so other people can have success. And what more can you say about a kid that's willing to do that? But let's take it a step further. And Noah Mitchell is the only player out of 104 kids on this roster who is a consistent two-way player every week. He's a starter at right guard for us, and he's going right back out there and he's playing interior defensive line. And he plays the majority of the entire game, both ways. And he's the only – now, listen, Omar will get some snaps on defense, and Kajai will maybe be at linebacker a little bit and play some fullback. Noah Mitchell hardly comes off the field. And to be able to play 4 quarters of football at that high of a level in that important of a position, it takes a special kind of person. It takes a mentally tough person. It takes an unselfish person. And We've talked a little bit ad nauseum about him, but the person he's become this year is just, I can't be more proud of a kid, of the turnaround and the maturity and the leadership. I'm a huge Noah Mitchell fan. Huge Noah Mitchell fan.
So that turns your defense then into something that the Olentangy offense has to be aware of. That entire front line.
Yeah, no doubt.
There's not one guy that they have to keep an eye on. It's every single guy.
And then you have Mohamed Bangura,
yep,
who's got 6 Division I offers and for D-line. And then you have our young freshman, Jalen Spraggins, who can create a lot of havoc in there. And then you have Sahi Kibi, who's played really well as of late. So you have several guys on that front that, and then you have some other guys that are playing some significant time, like Morgan Smiley and J.J. Roark get some time out there. I think that's kind of the strength of our team is definitely our defensive line, and I think a lot of people are starting to realize that.
Yeah, well, talk to me about the next level up then. What are those linebackers going to need to do for you in this game against Olentangy tomorrow night?
I think the biggest thing is they just need to be gap sound.
Okay.
And again, we've talked, but like defensively, everybody has a gap that they're responsible for.
Yeah.
And they need to make sure that when their gap opens, it's almost like opening a door. They have to come up and they have to close the door. And if they don't meet that in the hole, then it creates lanes. So they have to close that door in a hurry. I think the other thing too is Olentangy is going to throw some RPO game at us, and we're going to have to ask our linebackers that. They can't just come screaming up. Like, they have to be disciplined and not go screaming up and biting on the run. Like, they're going to have to sit, be patient, be in the pass windows a little bit, and not be super aggressive towards the run, and, make sure that the ball's handed off before you go and try to make a tackle. Because if not, they can make you look silly. So, when you're playing one of these RPO teams, there's people that have pass responsibility, there's people that have run responsibility, and they need to make sure that they know which one they are and what they're, and that they're being disciplined enough to do their job and not try to do someone else's job.
So the secondary, what are your safeties going to have to keep an eye on?
Again, that RPO game.
Just
I think they do have a tall receiver that they'll try and go to, which can kind of create some issues because height is. Height's a huge equalizer and a benefit for some, and so we have to be careful with the height outside. I think we need to allow ourselves the ability to not put ourselves in a bad situation. What I mean by that is, like, a lot of this may sound crazy, but like our secondary is allowed to call their coverages, so they operate as a different unit than our box 7 does.
Okay.
So a lot of times, based on where their confidence level is, they're calling their own coverages, and they work in teams. And so when we take it a step further, and like a lot of stuff that we run, not always, but a good portion, we run split field coverages, which means to the boundary you're going to have a safety and a corner operating their own coverages and working in tandem, and then to the field you're going to have a corner and maybe two safeties or an outside linebacker operating their own coverage as a unit. So what that does is it really complicates things for offenses, because now we could be man on the backside and zone on the play side, and like you got to get yourself in the right call to have success there. So but all of that's dictated by our safeties. So our safeties need to make sure that they're putting us in the proper position to have success.
Special teams. Rylan Moran is able to kick off for a touchback pretty much anytime he wants. How important is that for tomorrow night?
I mean, it's huge. That was something that we didn't have the liberty of having last year. But to just, be able to know that your defense is starting off in a good situation, we can play that the game of field position, and we can play the game, our game offensively of sustaining long drives and, putting together these long plays or these long drives that end up in points, like keeping the ball away from you. And then when you get the ball back and you're on your 20-yard line, that makes it hard. I mean, you've got to go 80 yards now for a touchdown. So I think it's a luxury that a lot of teams maybe don't have access to that, Again, I think we're kind of spoiled that we're able to do that, and it helps our defense a lot.
Coach, thanks for the time.
Oh, love it, man.
Is this a therapeutic time of the week for you?
After a win.
After a win.
After a win. It's kind of like, you get to celebrate a little bit and get to talk about and relive a good moment. And I saw the Alcott principal today. He's like, hey, had a great couple 2 weeks. And I said, yeah, it's been peaceful. It's peaceful 2 weeks. So winning brings you peace, man. And, it brings you a couple more smiles. And, again, I just don't know if there's many people that hate losing as much as I do. But I've even had kids have been like, wow, you've been a lot more happy these last 2 years. I'm like,
Well,
that's what happens.
Winning helps.
So,
Well, it goes back to your question when we met early in the preseason, which was, is winning fun or is it fun to win?
Yeah, you're right.
Right now, I would say winning is fun.
Winning is fun.
Yeah.
Winning is fun, and I hope that that's the motivator going forward. Is I think these kids have finally gotten a little bit of a taste of what winning's like, and I think they've kind of got a little bit of confidence in themselves. I think last week was huge. Regardless of how the next several weeks go, I think for me personally, last week was the validation I needed to just keep going.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Progress.
It's working. And it may not work every time, but it's working. Just keep pushing. And I think
7th in the region right now.
Yeah.
7th in the region, Westerville Central.
Yeah, and it's last year was hard.
Mm-hmm.
The first 2 weeks of this year was hard, and I think any person kind of questions themselves and was this the I'll shoot you straight. So 15 minutes before the South game, I'm told that my wife calls me and she lost her job. I was getting sick. We had just lost that game to North, and then you come off the loss to South, and it's just one of those moments in your life where you just feel like
nothing's going right.
The next morning I wake up, the check engine light's on my Jeep. It's got to go to the shop. There's something wrong with the electrical system. It was just one of those moments where it's like everything's going wrong, and we've talked about this before. It's almost like, is this like a sign this is not what I'm meant to be? Like, am I trying to force open a door that I'm not meant to be going through? Like you start to question. And I even told my wife, I'm like, maybe we made the wrong decision. Like, maybe this is not what I'm supposed to. Like, maybe this wasn't what we're supposed to be doing. And you start to question everything. You're just like. So I think the last 2 weeks for me has just been that, yes, you are meant to be here. It's working.
Keep working at it.
You just have to keep going.
Yep.
And this season's not going to end perfect. We're not. I would love to go 8-2. That's probably not going to happen. I understand that. We're just not there yet.
Mm-hmm.
But we're closer than we were last year.
Yeah.
And I kept, the first 2 weeks, I kept saying, it just feels like it's gonna.
Well,
it feels like we're close.
You're closer than you were 4 weeks ago.
No doubt. And so again, I think me personally, I feel like I needed these last 2 weeks as validation of
sure,
you're doing the right things.
Yeah.
And if you just keep consistent with it, you're getting there.
Yep.
It's just it's slow. It's a slow growth process.
Enjoying the ride, Coach.
It's been fun, man.
We're enjoying the ride.
It's been fun.
That's Coach Franke of Westerville Central. And when we come back, we're going to wrap things up in the Josh Franke Coaches Show from Time and Change here on Central Ohio Sports Network.
Put your phone on D&D, that means do not disturb when you're driving. And when you're going from point A to B, I need you to stay safe, please, so always sing with me. So put your phone on D&D, that means do not disturb when you're driving. And when you're going from point A to B, I need you to stay safe, please, so always remember this beat.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Hey, Russell Wilson here, and I know how important exercise is.
It's essential. It's essential.
With Play 60, United Way and the NFL are helping kids stay active and play at least 60 minutes a day.
Healthy kids, healthy kids.
But what this place needs is you. To donate or volunteer, go to unitedway.org/play60 because great things happen when we live united.
Donate.
Are you guys going to do that every time?
Yes, of course. Yes, of course.
Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
As veterans, we're no strangers to helping others. That's what we were taught, service before self.
But we do have one question for the veterans listening.
When was the last time you reached out for help?
If you or someone you know needs resources, whether it's for stress, finances, employment, or mental health, don't wait. Reach out.
Find more information at va.gov/reach. That's va.gov/reach.
Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
I perform for our high school choir director, who taught me to breathe from the diaphragm and sing from the heart.
Speech, debate, theater, music. The performing arts teach valuable life lessons that typically aren't taught in the classroom. They help high school students learn leadership skills that prepare them to enjoy more satisfying, productive lives.
Hey, I've got a question for you. Who will you perform for?
This message presented by the Ohio High School Athletic Association and the high school in your community.
You're listening to the Josh Franke Coaches Show on Central Ohio Sports Network.
The Josh Franke Coaches Show, live from Time and Change in Westerville, wrapping things up for week number 5. Westerville Central 2-2 overall. They are on the road tomorrow at Olentangy to take on the Braves. 3-1 Olentangy, and it'll be a tough matchup for Westerville Central. The Braves are going into that matchup again, 3-1, and their only loss is coming to Olentangy Orange, who was 4-0. That was a 42-14 decision 2 weeks ago. But Olentangy has outscored every opponent in big ways. They beat Perrysburg 28-20. That was just an 8-point swing on that one, but everything else has been pretty marginal for Olentangy. Westerville Central, again, losing those first 2 weeks, 48 points unanswered. They go 47 points then the next 2 weeks, and now Westerville Central will travel to Olentangy to take on the Braves. Our coverage tomorrow night starts at 6:30 p.m. That's our Warhawk pregame. We'll have all the coverage for you. Myself and Wes Minke will be at Olentangy for tomorrow night's game. Kickoff is slated for 7 p.m. Glad you could be with us. Thank you to Time and Change for their continued hospitality for the Josh Franke Coaches Show. Thanks to Coach Wallace, Cam Hebner for joining us, and, of course, Josh Franke. I'm Brent Ford saying good night from Time and Change here on your home of the Warhawks, Central Ohio Sports Network.
This has been the Josh Franke Coaches Show, a broadcast presentation of Central Ohio Sports Network. This presentation may not be rebroadcast without approval from Central Ohio Sports Network. To advertise or sponsor with COSN, email centralohiosportsnetwork@gmail.com. This is the home of the Westerville Central Warhawks, Central Ohio Sports Network.